chain of command at camp. I mean, that's kind of a given, especially if you've been there before, you know. So our chain of command starts with the director, who's obviously Wendy. Everyone here knows Wendy because she's the director, and she's met all of us before you can come to camp. Under Wendy is our assistant director, who's Linda. Say hi, Linda. And then underneath Linda are our deans. We have 3 deans. We have a dean of men, who is Lee. That is Wendy's husband. Most of you have met him. If you have not, you will at the next training. Dean of women, who is me. And then, hi. And then all of you teens have your own dean, who is Melissa. I believe most of you have met her. Some of you have not, but once again, you will at the next training. She will be here. So during the week of camp, there might be some things that you are told to do or asked to do, or that the whole group is told to do or asked to do. And it may seem like a really weird request. It may not make sense in your brain. But it's super important that we remember that there are rules for a reason, and that we don't question them in the moment, especially in front of children. There will absolutely be a time and a place. There will definitely be a time and a place for you to make any requests or question things. What we have in place, if it is something like you feel needs attention immediately, what we ask you do is get one of our little heart notes, and you can write it down and give it to me. Hi, give it to me. We are not giving them to Wendy. Wendy is doing other things at the time. So any immediate thing that you are questioning or wondering about, just be sure that we're not doing it in front of the kids. A good example of like something you might not like understand at all is we're like, we can't give the kid coffee because it has lots of caffeine in it, and that's kind of a given, right? Well, what if throughout the week something has come up where like your kid drinks decaf coffee every day, and you don't personally see anything wrong with that because it's plain black coffee, doesn't have sugar, doesn't have caffeine, whatever. So you give your kid decaf coffee because in your head it makes sense. Well, that's fine, it makes sense in your head, but that kid goes home, tells his caregiver that he had coffee. Who gets a phone call? None of you. None of you have to answer to this. So we just need to remember that there's a whole line. Wendy answers to social services. Wendy answers to foster parents. And Wendy answers to insurance companies. So when we have these rules in place, there's a whole, like there's different areas that we have to take into consideration. It's not just, oh, and Wendy answers to RFK. So like there are so many areas that we have to bring our rules in from. Not to mention, we have a board that meets year-round planning camp. We spend lots of hours going over all these details, and we obviously decide what we feel is best. We are very flexible to consider and to change and to discuss anything, but not in the moment. What's done is done. We can't like just flip a coin and change everything that's been planned. But once again, absolutely write it down and give it to us if you feel that it's important. Amanda, and now Cindy, we have Cindy as well, may also kind of step in that role of like, hey, you need to do this with this child. That's also, obviously that's why they're there. They are the professionals. They know what they're doing, and if they're giving you advice, once again, heed that advice and listen to what they're saying. And that's a good picture, because that's what Wendy looks like at camp, don't worry. Aw, that's what Wendy looks like at camp, a beautiful smile. We also ask that over the years, we have gone to the same campground over and over and over, and we've all built relationships with the people at the campground. And so it's really easy to be like, hey, we don't have toilet paper here. Hey, we don't have this here. We don't. There are over 60 of us coming to camp this year, and if we're all communicating with the camp staff, they're gonna lose their minds. So per their request, if you need anything from campground staff, Wendy. Wendy is the only person to communicate with them. And I know it gets kind of hard because we have relationships with them. Like, I'm friends with Doc on Facebook. Like, he's my buddy. Like, we're friends. But we just have to remember that there's a lot of us, and we all kind of feel the same way, that we have that relationship. So just to make things simple, we need to stick to that. Yeah. Yeah, what she said. Each big event, the birthday party, the honor code, all of the different events, have someone that's in charge of them. It'll be on the whiteboard. Every staff member knows that we live by the whiteboard. It changes daily, and we have to check it. Sometimes it changes multiple times every day. Just be sure that you're on it, and if anything at an event needs to be changed, you need supplies, you need anything, you need to find out who's in charge of it. Once again, we have these committees that have been working year round. And if you come in and you see something that you're like, oh, I think it should be different, like, how disheartening. Like, they've literally been working on this for a year. Our birthday committee, like, already has stuff started for next year. Like, they're literally like working on 2 years at once. Like, they're amazing. And so we just really want to be respectful of their time and dedication. And so just be sure to know who's in charge of that. Because at our staff meetings every morning, we go over the board and who's in charge. So you'll know who to talk to about that kind of stuff. The deans are here for you. This is a super, super important thing to remember at camp. If you've been to camp, or if you've ever worked with people before, you're well aware that sometimes you get irritated with people, even people that you like. It's so important at camp that we don't go to other people to talk about what we're irritated about. I'm rooming with Jackie, and Katie's driving me crazy. Actually, I'm rooming with Katie, and Jackie's driving me crazy. We're gonna switch this. You know, even though I'm with Katie all week, I don't need to go to Katie to talk about Jackie, even if I feel it's a healthy vent. No, it's not. Because now what I've done is I've created a me and Katie where Jackie's on the outside. Jackie acts tough on the outside, but she's got the biggest heart that I've ever seen. Anyways, Jackie, so what we want you to do, because we don't want you to bottle it up and hold it in and not feel like you're getting resolution, that's exactly what your deans are for. If you are a teen, you go to Melissa. If you are a man, you go to Lee. If you are a woman, you come to me. We've set this up so that there's a healthy way to either, maybe you do just need to vent. Maybe it's not even really something that needs to be fixed. You just need a minute of, she's doing this, it's driving me crazy, but it's okay. Like, it's just me. Like, I know that this is an irritant that I have that I just need to get over. Or if it's something that needs to be addressed, that's what the deans are there for, so they can be a mediator to leave out the emotions and to not cause any sort of me versus them issues, because we don't play that game at camp. There is no me versus them. We are a team, and we have to be a team because these kids are really smart, and they're gonna see through our fake team. So we have to be a real team because they'll know if we're not. Okay, so staff and counselors. This is always a hard dynamic. It's kind of like we were talking about the rules of it's okay to call people out and don't be offended if people call you out, but it's almost kind of the opposite. Follow me on this one. The staff are here to help the counselors. That's what we're here to do. We are here to help. But that also includes not overstepping. When you see something going on with a counselor and their kid, it is not our job to step between them and show the counselor how it's done. Yeah, it's not our job. We don't know what deals they've made with their kid. We don't know what's going on in that situation. But on the same token, you need to be ready, because if that counselor gives you that go-ahead look, they may need to tap out. They may need someone else to back them up. They may need that minute, or they may just need you to come stand by them and smile and pat their back as they talk to their child. Once again, we're a team, and that's what we're there to do. So staff, it is not our job to come in and take over, but it is our job to be ready to help at a moment's notice. And, flip that for the counselors. Don't hesitate to use us. That's what we are there for. We're there to help you, to give a different perspective. If you're a parent, when you're in the middle, it's so hard to see the whole big picture. Well, it's the same when you're a counselor. You're with that kid. It's hard to see everything because you're just tired, you're frustrated. You made this deal with the kid yesterday and it worked and it's not working today. Well, okay, let's take a step back and see why. So don't hesitate to use a counselor or a staff member to assist you in that way. There's also please keep in mind that some of our staff, all of our board members and most of our staff have done further training with TBRI. We've done more, so we might have a little bit more of a perspective, and don't use that knowledge. It only helps us grow as a team. The more you know. Who just did the theme song in their head? Anybody? Yep. Okay. So yeah, it only helps us grow as an organization and as a team. Oh yes. That'll definitely be covered with our TBRI stuff. But yeah, use your staff before it's too late. Before you, right, if we're at a point where it's bad, yeah, but yeah, right. We'll go over the levels and everything of when you should be calling them people. But yeah, don't hesitate to use the people around you. There's a new section in our training manual, so be sure it was added last year, I think, right? The section 2, there's a newer section. Yeah. So it's on page 9, just in case, for those listening to this later that weren't here today. So our family groups, you all that have been to camp know that we have started using family groups, which, every boy and girl, there's 4 colors. There's a girl's blue and a boy's blue and a girl's yellow and a boy's yellow. So these are your family groups, and we have to stay together, but you don't have to stay all together. That we do buddy counselors, so if you 2 boy yellows want to go here and the other 2 boy yellows want to go here, that's fine. This is just set up to mostly make it real easy for 2 deeps and things like that, so you're never I'm all alone and I can't find someone. You're always going to be with your family group. So yeah, just keep that in mind. We kind of touched on this already, that each counselor will handle their kids differently, and this can kind of be hard for the counselors that are all in the same room together, because you may think that this counselor should be doing something different than what they're doing. If it's not affecting your child, let it be. Everyone say that. Let it be. Now, if you think it's something that's harmful, or you just know it's flat out wrong, that's when you need to be talking to someone, whether the Dean of Men or Amanda or Wendy. But that's only if you think it's harmful or something bad. Otherwise, let it be. That counselor is working with the relationship and building it, and just let them do their thing. Okay. Yeah, I'm going through this really fast. Perfect. All right. Lori wants to go home. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the leadership and the staff and counselors. So now we're going to get to the cousins. So especially, well, not especially, all of you listen, not just the new ones. Everyone listen. A cousin's primary responsibility, like we said, is to assist the volunteers and campers, and then you're going to participate in the drama, either actually acting or helping with the costumes, in some way helping with the drama. Pay attention. The main idea of you being a cousin is that one day you will be a counselor. Like we hope that's why you're here. We just don't want you to be here for a year and then take off. We hope that, you plan to stay. So really pay attention to how situations are handled, and, just try and soak in everything you can, because then by the time you get there, you're already going to be a pro. Like, you're going to be like, oh, I remember this from 2019, and this is what that counselor did on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, because that's how all of our brains work. So you're just going to remember these certain situations. A lot of times, as you guys know, cousins will build relationships with a lot of the kids, and honestly, sometimes you build better relationships than the counselors do. This becomes a very tricky dynamic, because once again, you are still a minor, so you aren't responsible for the kid, but you may have some really good ideas on how to work with them. It's really, really important that you do not call their counselor out in front of the kid. We absolutely invite you to have a conversation with the counselor later on. If you don't feel comfortable just coming up to a counselor and being like, hey, I think you should try this with the kid, get Melissa involved, get me involved, if you're more comfortable doing that, because you might have a really good idea, but we cannot do that in front of a kid. It's kind of like when mom and dad are fighting and it makes everyone around them really uncomfortable. We just can't do that in front of a kid. We need to really be, like I was saying earlier, a team, and so that includes not disagreeing on what's going on around us. So this is always a fun one because I'm super, super guilty of it. Staff and counselors, do not tell a cousin where to go or what to do without Melissa's permission. Melissa, she's not here. I'm super guilty of it. You may see a group of teens just sitting there talking, doing nothing, and you're like, go write heart notes. So you send them to the other side of the camp, and then 3 minutes later, Melissa walks in and goes, where are all my teens? We have drama practice right now. And I'm like, I just sent them to the other side of the campground. Let me go find them for you. So teens, you have every right, and they actually made fun of me a couple years ago because I did this multiple times, so I don't know which of you were here then, but yeah, she's smiling. Look at her. Anytime for the rest of the week, I'd be like, hey, can you guys do this? They would all look at me in unison and be like, did Melissa say so? So, but for real, you can ask that. If you know Melissa's coming or she told you to do something and another adult is like, hey, go do this, you have every right to be like, is that what Melissa wants me to do? Because at the end of the day, you're with her. Sure, we may need, obviously if it's an emergency, kid cuts his leg, hey, go grab a Band-Aid, go get the nurse. That's different. But as far as just everyday schedule, check with Melissa. And so staff and counselors don't just be don't try and fill their time or anything like that, because Melissa does plenty of that for them. So, and once again, Melissa is your dean. So if you need any type of emotional support or prayer, anything like that, definitely reach out to her. She's awesome. and she would love to just talk with you. And yeah, just because you're obviously volunteers just like us, but you're also minors. So everyone needs to remember that. And with them being minors, we need to adhere to the 2 deep rule as much as possible with them. It's a little bit different than with the kids. We would love, like it can be 2 adults and 1 kid, or it can be 2 kids and 1 adult. We just really, really ask that you do not be alone with a teen. Same thing. They're minors. We just want to protect everyone at camp so that nothing can ever even be questioned. That's our whole goal, is we set up these rules so nothing is ever questioned. When and if, so when you guys need a break, because it will happen for any reason, it's totally fine. You are allowed to have some alone time, but we have to know where you are. Someone needs to know. If you need to go walk down by the lake for a little bit, that's fine, but someone needs to know. Just because, once again, you're minors. And if for some reason a parent calls, is like, hey, where's my kid? I need to tell them something right now. And we're like, we don't know where your kid is. That's not good. I don't think your parents would be very happy with that. So, okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, so the last thing, which Wendy talked about it earlier, just really building each other up. It's so hard. I know a lot of us, our second language is sarcasm. I mean, I just know it comes so naturally to so many. Or even just, I'll be real honest, one of my favorite phrases that just rolls out of my mouth is "you're the worst." You know, I just say it a lot when people are being, whatever people are being, just silly. I say it to Brandon at least once a day, always. So yeah, just things like that. We just really need to be careful of at camp. They were talking about earlier, you don't know what type of a day people are having. You just don't, you know. And one time at camp, I told Brandon he was the worst, and he cried for the next 3 hours. No, it was 4 hours. No. Right. Yeah, no. So we just need to be really careful. This is such an amazing team, and this is how we get here. We need to just really build each other up. I know the heart note seems silly, but when you get a heart note that's like, and don't get me wrong, generic heart notes are good too, they're fun. But like when you get one where someone has like noticed you or seen you, it just makes your day. We just need to be really mindful of our team and just aware of the people around us. We ask that we treat each other royally, not just the kids, each other. You know, we're what's a heart note? Are you new? Sorry. You're the worst. Heart notes. They are awesome. We have our own mail system at camp. We just use little note cards. What'd you say? Index cards, that's a word. Index cards, and you can write them to anyone, adults, kids. They're awesome, and we just say nice things to each other. And then they get delivered, and you get to read nice things about yourself that people think or feel about you. So, yeah, we just need to be mindful of that and how people are feeling and just the mood of the rooms. We just need to be very uplifting and a team unit. Go team. Go team. That was good. All right, so we need 3 takeaways or questions. No sarcasm. Good one. Yes.
Last year, I don't remember to what extent level-wise, but I know that we had some operating restrictions because of COVID-related stuff. What's that going to be like this year?
As of right now, there won't be any. That could change tomorrow, as we all know. They have lifted all mask requirements, correct? At- through the food line, yeah. Right. The state of Illinois has lifted them, so most likely not, but check the day before camp. I mean, that's literally all we can say. Yeah, we'll let you know once we know for sure, but as we all know, COVID does what COVID wants, and we just follow the rules. Yes. Mm. Hold on, hold that thought. I just want to go directly off that. Real quick in here, we are here learning about how these children's brains have physically been affected by trauma and how we deal with them. Real quickly, I want you to raise your hand if during your childhood you went through any sort of trauma, someone dying, just anything at all. And if you're not raising your hand, I'm not sure if I believe you. Because we all had a mean teacher, a mean sibling, like something. See, this is my point. So we're giving grace to all these kids, but, we've all been through something at some point in our life that can be triggered at camp. And if you've been to camp, you know it can be triggered. What were you going to say, Bethany? Sorry. Oh, was that not even in here? Did I totally go over it? Okay, Bethany is did I totally skip right over that? Huh, okay. Bethany is our prayer coordinator. So when she says complain to her, she means come to her and say, pray for me, Bethany. That is her sole job at camp, is to be there and to pray for you. Even if she is fantastic at I'm not kidding you, at a walk by, hey Bethany, pray for me, and she's got it. Like she doesn't need, you don't have, especially like for counselors, you don't need to stop and have a 45-minute revival prayer time. Like make like you don't even have to say anything. Make eye contact with her and give her a look, and she's going to pray for you. So just keep that in mind too. Yeah, that's the only reason she's there. You can also write it on a heart note and hand it to her if you just don't want to say anything. But it doesn't need to be like this whole big weird holier than thou moment because we don't have time for that at camp, right? We don't, and nobody got time for that. So yeah, yes, Lori. These kids, like Wendy said, they might be 10, but act like a 7-year-old. But guess what age they are street smart? 25. So our emotions are caught every time. And like Lori said, if they are watching us healthily deal with that, amazing. If they see Katie sigh at Jackie and be all irritated, and then 20 minutes later walk up to her and give her a hug, what does that say? What does that speak to these children? So, anyone else before Wendy comes back? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'll sit with you at lunch. Will you? Will you? Like, do you have to practice drama at a different time that day because something's changed? Like, yeah, be so careful, because once again, the last thing we want to do is have these kids come and break any promise that we say to them. You can absolutely say things like, oh my gosh, I would love to sit by you. I'm going to have to check and I'll see. Be happy, be positive, be encouraging. Don't tell them, I can't make you that promise. You use good wording. Use your good words. Oh my gosh, I'd love to sit by you. Thank you for asking me. I'm going to check and see, and I'll see if I can. Be excited about it, and yeah. Yes. Mm. But yeah, there's also tricks to that we can talk, because yeah, if you turn it on, then it's going to turn off. But yeah, they're weird lights. They definitely turn off. Fairy lights for everyone. Thank you, Crystal. All right, are we good?